I might be putting two stories together, but it doesn't exactly matter. They work together. He says, get thee behind me, Satan. I think he actually says that to Peter. Doesn't matter. But it means something very specific. You know, you talked about anger. Like, anger is an extremely useful emotion. Trump is very good at using it, by the way. You can see that in his mugshot, for example. Well, you know, that anger that you had, if that's...
I feel aimless. People ask me that all the time. Like, man, I feel so aimless.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
Well,
you know?
Okay, so two things happen when you're aimless. Okay, so the first is you get anxious. And the reason you get anxious is because anxiety computes aimlessness. So if you drop someone in the middle of a desert, the reason they're anxious is because it's not because they don't know which way to go. It's because there are way too many places to go, right? Every direction. And that's aimlessness. Is like every direction beckons. That's way too complicated. And your brain literally signals that with anxiety. Okay, so aimlessness and anxiety are the same thing, but it's worse. Your brain is set up to produce positive emotion. Literally, this is what the positive emotion system does. It computes decrease between you and a goal. So if you have a goal and you see that you've done something that moves you towards it, your brain produces a dopamine hit, and that makes you feel good, and it strengthens the neural circuits that moved you forward. It does both of those. That's reward and reinforcement. And what that means is, if you don't have a goal, you have no positive emotion. And when people say, you know, they're aimless, they're partly telling you that they're anxious, but they're also telling you that they have no positive emotion. So then you say, well, what sort of goal should you have? Because that's the next question, right? And the answer to that is, well, ask yourself. And this future authoring program that I set up, it helps you do that. It's like, okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Maybe this isn't true, but maybe it is. You can have what you want in 5 years. But there's two conditions. You have to know what it is, and you have to aim at it. Okay, so let's say you're willing to play that game. Might be wrong, because who knows, you're going to get run over by a bus tomorrow, but you know, you're going to play the game. Okay, now the next step is, all right, you probably want to have an intimate relationship. Now, maybe not, but probably, but assuming you do, imagine, pretend like you're a kid. You get to have an intimate relationship. What does it look like? What does it look like when your wife greets you when you come home from work? What does your sex life look like, right? What do you do for entertainment? How do you treat each other? You need a fantasy, just like a little kid playing house, right? Figure out what you want, write it down, figure out what you could do to start moving towards that, okay? Do that with your family relationships. Do that with your friendships. Do that with your career. Do that with your education. Think about your misuse of alcohol and drugs and other things that might drag you down. If you want to drink, it's like, you want to be a bumbling Barney Gumble idiot? Like, you want to drink? Okay, what do you mean by that exactly? How often? How much is too much? How are you going to constrain that, and why? Develop a vision. And you have to do that in dialogue with yourself, right? It's like, if I could have what I wanted, what would satisfy me? And you might think, well, I could never get that. And I could say, well, maybe not, but I'll tell you one thing, man. You can move towards it. And I know that everyone who knows the underlying neuroscience knows this. Almost all the pleasure is in the moving toward. So even, you know, you don't want to set up a goal that's so high that there's just no possibility that a schlub like you could ever manage it. But God only knows what your upper limit is, you know. But if you set up a goal that you think is, you know, just on the edge of conceivability, then every time you move even a tiny bit towards that, you're going to think, good work, man, good work. You get a little kick from that. You get a little stronger from that. And that works like a charm.
Real.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
Of organization.
Some direction. Right. That's right. That's right. Here's another rule. This is a terrifying rule. If you don't provide yourself with direction, you will take direction from a tyrant. Yeah. Right. Right. So, and you might say, well, why should I take responsibility? You asked that, you know, it's like, I'm afraid of my own goals because of the responsibility. It's like, well, you're either going to be responsible to yourself, or you're going to be responsible to a tyrant, or you're going to be absolutely lost. That's your option set. Yeah, right.
That's it.
Yeah, pick one. And you know, you can think about that religiously or not. There's no escaping from what is.
Right.
You know, and I'm going to write a chapter soon on the book of Job, and it's a very interesting book, because what happens in that book is that it's really a shocking book. What happens is that God has a bet with Satan, which is, you know, a little ethically questionable, let's say.
Yeah, this could be time for a DraftKings ad too. I'm just joking, but that'd be funny.
Job's a good guy. And Satan gets word of him, and he knows God's happy with him, and he goes to God and he says, you know, Job, you know that guy you think so great? I don't think he's so great. I think if you let me torture him, I can make him denounce you and lose faith. And God says, I don't think so. He's yours. And you know, people in their lives, you know, sometimes they'll enter a period where all hell is breaking loose and everything seems to be conspiring against them. So
Yeah.
these things happen. And so Job, it's like, first of all, his whole family's destroyed, then everything he owns. So that's act one. Then Satan curses him with a terrible skin disease.
Yeah, that's tough.
Right,
That's
right.
tough,
And then he
yeah.
has to sit in the ashes, scraping himself. And then his friends come along and tell him that he must have done something wrong because otherwise the universe wouldn't be conspiring against him. So that's about as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then God himself comes along and says, who are you to complain about your fate? Right. Now, if you don't think that's going to happen to you in your life, you're not very smart, because that is going to happen to you in your life. So then the question is, what the hell should you do about it? And one answer would be, well, that sucks. It's God and Satan against you. You know, you're kind of outmatched. It's completely unfair because you were good and everything that you valued is taken away from you. So what should you do? You know, you shake your fist at the sky and raise a middle finger and say, fuck you, you know, like now I'm on the side of Cain and the devils and I'm going to be resentful and bitter. And people might look and think, well, it's no wonder you're resentful and bitter. Like you lost your whole family. You have a terrible disease. Your friends are laughing at you. Right. So you have every reason. That isn't what happens in the story. Job decides that no matter what happens to him, and he means that, no matter what happens to him, he's going to maintain his ethical orientation and aim up. And I think that's, but then you think, look, man, forget about the religious trappings. Here's hell. Hell is when you get cancer. And then you're bitter and resentful about it and you make your last 6 months a living fucking nightmare. Right. And so you might say, well, you've got cancer and that sucks. And no doubt it sucks. And maybe it's unfair and probably it is. And maybe even, you know, God and Satan themselves bet against you. You're going to aim up and maintain your dignity and your integrity? Or are you going to take a bad situation and make it into every goddamn nightmare you can possibly imagine? Think, well, of course you have to aim up no matter what happens to you. And you think, well, that's not fair. It's like, well, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And what does fair have to do with it? What's your choice? You're going to dig a deeper pit? Or are you going to have some integrity in the face of life's catastrophe? You know, and I think we know the answer to that, because when you meet people who have integrity in the face of catastrophe, you're struck with admiration for them.
Yeah.
Right, right. So that's your heart speaking, man. It's like, I don't know how you do it, but, you know, I can't help but
being all.
I know I have a friend, a very well-known Canadian, and he got into some business trouble about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and he had a great fortune and a huge business empire, and he lost every bit of it.
Wow.
And then they put him in prison. Right. And he lost everything, and he lost almost all of his friends. And they put him in prison in Florida, in a rough prison. He wrote a book there, and he got 200 people through high school.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
That was his choice.
Yeah.
It's like, even though it's as bad as it can get, I'm going to have some dignity for myself. And,
Yeah.
and it's where you really find out who you are. It's scary sometimes to really ask yourself who you are, you know, and really answer it earnestly.
You came from a poverty-stricken background, and you've done well. And, you know, you talked to me about having some trepidation about making your goals conscious and try to realize them. But you've pursued success and you've been successful. What do you think you did right that enabled you to aim for success? And also, you know, my sense is that you've straightened yourself out a lot, and that along with the opportunities, you haven't let the opportunities that have come your way drag you down or destroy you. And they could have. They do with lots of people in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And you make fun of your past, you know, in a great way. It's extremely hilarious. Like, what do you think you did right that put you forward?
Well, I didn't give up on myself, you know. I don't know if that's kind of a vague statement, I think, in some ways.
Well, why would that be the one that comes to mind first? Like, were you tempted to give up on yourself? Did your environment insist that you should have?
Yeah, I think I probably, part of me waged war against what I thought where I thought society expected me to be.
Yeah. And where did you think society expected you to be?
Probably my lot in life was supposed to be, you know, not successful, maybe not having much opportunity, looked at as a societal liability, maybe. You know, like I felt like I was born into an environment where I wasn't supposed to have success or opportunity, probably, you know, and I was supposed to be okay with that, kind of.
Right.
know?
Okay, so why didn't that make you bitter, or did it? And what did you do you think that worked that moved you forward beyond that? And why were you able to accept that even?
Yeah, I think what I did that helped me move beyond that probably was, I think probably make a decision within myself that I was going to do something different than that.
Do you remember when you decided that? Or was it a sequence of decisions?
I think it was probably a sequence of decisions, and I think it was always there somewhere, you know, but sometimes it was guided by anger.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, fair enough.
So it wasn't always guided by positive energy, really.
There's a scene in the...
It was a grudge. It was like I had an enemy, you know, and it was the world.
There's a scene in the Gospels where Christ is being tempted in the desert, and I think I might be putting two stories together, but it doesn't exactly matter. They work together. He says, "Get thee behind me, Satan." I think he actually says that to Peter. Doesn't matter. But it means something very specific. You know, you talked about anger. Like, anger is an extremely useful emotion. Trump is very good at using it, by the way. You can see that in his mugshot, for example. Well, you know, that anger that you had, if that's integrated and it's behind you, it's not anger, it's determination. Right. So integrated anger is no longer a vice. It's a hallmark of strength of character. That's the integration of the shadow from the Jungian perspective, right? You can't be namby-pamby and nice. That's not good enough. You shouldn't be dominated by anger because it makes you bitter. But that force, like anger, is a non-trivial force, right? It's a huge biological circuit. You want to have that sucker on your side. And if it can orient you upward, it makes you unstoppable.
Yeah.